Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on this Q&A with Travae. Today's topic is honoring Black mothers. Um, and so we are going to jump right in. But if you have any questions, comments, please feel free to unmute and talk. Um, okay, close my door, please. Um, I told him I was going to be in the meeting, and I told him somebody was coming by. And so guess they thought they needed to inform me. But anyway, that's part of mother. Um, and so, like I said, today's topic is Q&A with True honoring Black mothers. I want to start with some statistics on being a Black mother, and it's not a lot, probably just two of them that I think are um, important. There are plenty other ones that are important, but I want to start with um, birth, birthing statistics. Maternal mortality in the US for Black women is over 3.5 times more likely than it is for our white counterparts. And that is alarming for multiple reasons, but the biggest reason is because these things that they're dying from are often preventable, and they're usually due to insufficient care. And um, we can make all kind of assumptions as to why that may be, but history tells us that sometimes it's really just based on race and sometimes based on income, things like that. And so to me, that is concerning because when a mother is giving birth, that's one of the closest things that she will get to death. And it's supposed to be a happy time. It's supposed to be a time when um, a new bond is created, a new family is forming. Um, but oftentimes it doesn't end the way it should. Like I said, more so for Black mothers than for any other races. And then also, the infants are 2 times as likely to die for the same reason because of neglectful, negligent practices. Um, Again, very, very concerning for me because for that baby, they never really had an opportunity. They never had a chance to start. They were dealt a bad hand before they ever even really got to a point where they could live life. And so, another concerning statistic for me is after a Black mother has survived giving birth and after the infant has survived the first few months, the mother, Black mothers tend to experience single motherhood more than any other race. 47 to 64% of Black mothers are in single parent households where they are the head of the household. And that is quite unfortunate because that leaves a lot of what they call broken homes. Now, it is possible as a single mother to succeed and to raise successful children. I'm not taking away from that. I'm not knocking it at all. But I think most people's ideal situation is to have that two-parent household where both mom and dad are present physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and every other way. So again, these are just some statistics that were concerning to me and why I think it's important that we do highlight Black motherhood. And a big part of this, um, whether you're married or whether you're single as a mother, whether you hope to be a mother one day, whether you're an aunt, a support person in some way, it's important to understand the struggles that Black mothers go through in order to just do what should come naturally. And the state of the world, especially in the United States, I can't speak for other countries because I have never lived there, but the state of the United States, the state of the world, a Black mother's prayers have to be different because she knows that what her children may face in life, simply based on race, can be adversity. people can discriminate just simply based on a person's race, not the content of their character, not anything else. And we've seen it on the news, we've seen it in our own personal experiences. And so for many of us, there are some people that are in denial that such a thing exists. But for those of us who have lived it, we understand that these things can and do happen. And so, as I said, it causes a Black mother to pray differently. It causes us to consider things that other people may not consider, to teach our children things in a different way than other people might teach their children. And I'm not saying that life is not hard for white people. That is not at all where we're going with this. We're not saying that they don't have struggles, but we are saying that there are certain experiences of Black people that can make life harder for them than it had to be, simply because of their race. And it changes the intensity and the context of our prayers. We pray very fervently. If you are a praying mother, you pray very fervently for your children to not be subjected to certain things. For example, a Black mother may pray for her son or daughter's protection from those in authority who may wish to harm them or attempt to harm them, on the basis of race. And it's not about teaching compliance, because we get the argument a lot of times, if they would have just complied, teach them to comply, teach them to obey authority and respect authority. It's not a lack of respect for authority. If you understand that we are not opposed to authority, we're not opposed to law and order, we're not opposed to any of those things, but we are opposed to senseless killings that happen at the hands of people who are supposed to serve and protect. And so you can comply and still die. And that's a sad thing to say, um, or to even consider as a Black mother. Um, and so honoring Black mothers is not about discounting women of other races or ethnicities, nor is it about discounting the valuable contributions of men. It's about acknowledging the love and the sacrifice of Black mothers that may not be recognized or appreciated enough. And also, it's to prepare those who are not yet mothers for what to expect, what to plan for, what to do, because motherhood is hard regardless of your race. Motherhood is a gift regardless of your race. And so it should be handled with care in any case. But in some instances, as I mentioned before, there has to be some intentionality in the way that we pray, in the way that we talk to our children, in the way that we expose them, and things like that. So, how do you honor a Black mother? I'm gonna open the floor and allow you guys to comment if you would like. If not, I'm gonna share some things that I have for how you can honor a Black mother. You're welcome to unmute and comment.
I would say I really like the way that you started out this conversation, because it puts things in perspective, especially if you aren't a part of the Black community. But then it also brings awareness to us of the reality of Black motherhood, and
Mm-hmm.
the significance of us acknowledging, things still need to be done, you know. So I think
Yeah.
by honoring Black mothers, first, I think it is just the acknowledgement of the life that we do have to live. Um, although there's joys in motherhood, um, just the challenges that we have are significantly more than other ethnicities. So that's what I would say. Just acknowledge. You
Mm-hmm.
know, sometimes we just
Mm-hmm.
not acknowledged, and I think that pours into
Right. Right.
care that we have. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I think acknowledgement is huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that is
Piggybacking,
one of those
sorry,
things. I was just going to
and
say that is one of
piggybacking.
the things
Oh,
that
go ahead.
I had on my list. Go ahead, Jackie.
Gotcha. Piggybacking off Miss Tiffany, I was just thinking about um, the mothers that I do know, right, or seen or interacted with, because a lot of my friends are mothers and parents and wives and all the things now. But to understanding the disparity amongst our counterparts, I can't help but to think about
Mm-hmm.
the impact of presence
Mm-hmm.
that's needed, right? In
Yeah.
those single parent households um, or single moms or what have you, because they have to wear so many hats, right? I often have stated as an educator when I was in the school system, I was like, there's no way that I could be a mom at this time and could be an educator because where does the quiet kind
Mm-hmm.
of come
Mm-hmm.
in at that is a lot to wear, because ultimately that does not turn off. But what I've
Mm-hmm.
understood and what I have learned from, because I am a church kid, but I remember like the church mothers mentioning how they will be the ones to go into the homes and they will help these new parents out. And I even remembering
Mm-hmm.
a pastor stating, he said, I couldn't fathom being a single parent. He said, because being married with a newborn is hard. So if a man
Mm-hmm.
is willingly admitting that, a married man,
For
who has
sure.
willingly admitted that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
that speaks volumes to me. Because
Yeah.
that from his perspective, it was like him saying, like, no, we need the men and the women need the men in the home, but also that the importance of community, like I said, the importance of presence, because most people, most women, most households are not doing this because you know what, I get pure enjoyment from wearing 15 hats a day. But they are
Mm-hmm.
forced into these positions because not all of them started off single either.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They didn't all
Exactly.
start off single, but sometimes
Right.
things happened, and so
Mm-hmm.
now this has fallen upon them, and not because that other person may not be in the home, they all also there's this unspoken mentality of, well, they got it, they don't need me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about the person you
Mm-hmm.
had the child with, but it's about coming together for the sake of the child and their betterment. And I think that's something that's often lost upon.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it is you guys brought up some great points, but it, it should be a partnership. There's a reason why God gave two parents and then gave them the ability to procreate, because it is a difficult job. It is something that requires you to raise them up in nurture and admonition. It is something that requires sacrifice and selflessness, but oftentimes it ends up falling more on one than the other between two responsible parties, um, where two people got together and agreed to be intimate and create a life. Um, it still tends to fall on one or the other. And again, this is not to discount fathers, but there are some traditions that we tend to hold fast to in the Black community, in the United States community, just in general, where the burden can be more on one person than the other. Now, I have seen a lot of things shifting where it's becoming a little bit more egalitarian than I think it may have been in the past, but that doesn't negate the experience, because um, being pregnant now, I can tell you, yes, my husband can help me in some ways, but he can't carry this baby for me. He's not going through, the nausea and the pains and the pokes and the constant doctor's visits and this and that. And um, not that I would want him to. I don't want him to have to endure what I as a woman have to endure. But I say that to say that there is more that goes on physically, and even, you know, with our hormones changing and things like that, and having to sacrifice if you choose to breastfeed, or, you know, things like that. Those are some things that are intrinsic sacrifices that come with motherhood. And not that the man is not willing to help, but it's just something that they're incapable of helping with, because they are not women. Their bodies are not equipped to carry or to nurture in that way. And so that comes with a weight in and of itself. And so it starts out with that. Um, and don't get me wrong, being a mother is a blessing. Thus, I have all these children. It is a blessing, and I don't regret any of it. I don't regret any of my children. I wouldn't take it back, not a single one. I wouldn't, again, wish the discomforts on other people. Is part of it, but I think it also helps to make me appreciate the journey, and make me appreciate my children, and make me appreciate my husband being, you know, alongside me to help me in this parenthood journey. I appreciate things because I know the sacrifice that it takes, you know, to get to this point. Um, and so I understand that it can be very difficult for a person trying to do it on their own, because even as a married mother, there is no day off, no time off. You don't clock out of being a mother. You are a mother 24 hours a day. Even if you go to work, you're still checking your phone to make sure your kids are okay. You're still making sure that they attend school like they should. You're still even going to work to provide for them. There's still something that is required of you, whether you're married, single, a work at home mom, or a work on the job mom. There's still a lot that is required of you. And so some of the ways that I think that we can honor a Black mother, number one, is to pray for her. God knows best. He created her, He created the children, He created her partner, whether they're together or not, you know. And so He can really turn things around in her life, you know. Um, and so we start by praying for her. And then we advocate for her. As I said before, those statistics are really scary. They're really disappointing. And so sometimes a woman just needs somebody to be a voice. We've seen in recent news where, you know, women are having their babies on the way, you know, from the hospital because the hospital turned them around, or somebody caused a miscarriage or a stillborn, or, you know, caused some type of illness, ailment, or whatever, due to medical malpractices and things like that. All kinds of things, you know. Advocate for her mental health, because, you know, it's, again, it's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. And sometimes that additional support is needed. And so advocate for her, and then offer to help in a practical way. Um, a lot of times, me being guilty of it, we don't always ask for help. For one, a lot of times we feel like it's what we're supposed to do and should do, and we're expected to be everyone's savior and to do everything seamlessly without getting tired. But in reality, we're only human. And so if you can help a Black mother, or any mother really, but if you can help a mother in some way, find a practical way to help. You can order dinner for the family. You can babysit the kids just for 2 hours. I mean, you can do all kinds of things to support a single mother, a married mother, a Black mother, any kind of mother. You can do things in a practical way that could help that mother tutor the kids. You can even send her resources on motherhood. You can send her. Thank you, baby. Close my door, please. Not yet. It's not the weekend. Close my door, please. Um, Sorry for the interruptions. We're not watching TV. It's not the weekend. Close the door. As I said, Motherhood is 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year. And my children are being my prime example tonight. So, but anyway, um, offer to help in a practical way. As I was saying, um, acknowledge her struggle and her effort. As I said, there are so many barriers that can come with parenthood, and especially as a Black mother, um, just acknowledging what she's going through, and then also acknowledging how she's still trying despite all the barriers and all the limitations and all the things that are thrown at her. Another thing is not to compare her to people that you deem to be better in some way. So and so has better rules, or so and so has a. It's okay to give advice, and it's okay to say, hey, so and so tried this, but don't diminish her efforts by comparing her to somebody else in a way that would really demean her. Another thing would be to hear her heart. We don't always make the right decisions, but we make the best decisions that we can in the moment. And so it's important that we assume positive intent when it comes to motherhood. Again, we don't always get it right. Sometimes we got some crazy rules. Sometimes we say no when we should say yes. Sometimes we say yes when we should say no. Sometimes we're overwhelmed. Sometimes we raise our voices. There are all kinds of things that can be going on, but at the end of the day, what is important is that you hear her heart. You hear where she's coming from. You hear her reason for making these decisions, um, without holding her to a unrealistic um, expectation of perfection. And then another thing is, don't gossip about her and her kids. Again, she may not always get it right. Her may not always get it right. I know for a fact that sometimes you can teach a child the right way and they'll still do it the wrong way. It doesn't matter how good a parent you are. Children are going to test the limits. And sometimes they get themselves in a big pickle. And, even though they've been taught right, heard a lot of times they'll say, well, the preacher's kids are the worst kids. Now, I'm a preacher's kid, and I think I wasn't the worst kid, but it's still situations where the kids that have been taught right still don't do right. So another thing would be to affirm her. Tell her when you see her do good. Tell her when her children are well behaved. And don't put it in a way that you may, something like children are so well behaved for you to be a single mom. That's a candid compliment. That's not a compliment. Affirm. You could just say, you are such a great mom. Your children are doing so great. You don't have to add any piece on the what you might consider discrepancies. Just affirm her. Challenge her to take care of herself before she burns out. So I say before she burns out because it's easy to see the need after it's gotten way too far. That's like dehydration. We're supposed to be drinking water all throughout the day, but then we only want to drink water when we're thirsty. You shouldn't get to the point of being thirsty. It's the same way with self-care. We're supposed to be taking care of ourselves along the way, not to the point of burnout. Another thing is to challenge her to not sacrifice her purpose. Yes, you are a mom, but that is not your identity. That is one role that you play, and that is one thing that you do. If God is calling you to do something, it does not mean that he wants you to neglect your duties as a mom, but he also doesn't want you to neglect your duties as a person of purpose in ministry, in whatever it is that he's calling you to do. Um, Challenge her to not feel guilty for investing in herself. A lot of times, as a mom, we spend a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy on our children. We make all kind of sacrifices, but when it comes to ourselves, we are very stingy with our funds. We don't, stingy with our time or stingy with whatever, where we don't give the same effort for ourselves. And I'm one of those people who was kind of like that I don't get my nails done. I rarely ever get my hair done, as y'all can tell. Um, I don't buy a lot of clothes. I don't pamper myself a lot. And so I'm guilty of this. But, you know, that's an area that I feel like I can grow in because I have to challenge the narrative. Um, that is in my own head, that is in society, that is all kinds of places that would make it seem like because I don't spend my every dollar or my every waking moment on my children that I'm somehow a bad mother. And I know that the rebuttal may be Black women are welfare queens who spend child support money on fake nails and weave, or that it's just what they're supposed to do, or if you taught your children to behave better, you wouldn't have to teach them XYZ and you wouldn't be putting up with this. But in reality, the vast majority of Black mothers don't fit that narrative. They don't fit um, that description that um, that the world has portrayed of us. And some do, but most don't. And no, we're not perfect, but we're often not as bad as we're portrayed to be. And also, many of the people that are pointing fingers are the ones who have been poking the bear and then want to run and cry when the bear turns around and attacks, when the bear defends herself and her babies. And so it's important that we don't look at this through the wrong lens. And yes, there's room for growth, as it is in all people, for Black mothers. But there's an effective way to encourage change, and that's through love and guidance. The Bible talks about the older women teaching the younger women, and really that's more so saying the wise should teach the novice or the inexperienced person. It's not necessarily based on age, but it's based on wisdom. And so the problem with fulfilling that, though, is that it was twofold. Um, and it's growing worse, is that the wise are no longer teaching. And part of that is because we've become a selfish society. And then another reason is that the ignorant feel like they're above reproach or teaching. They feel like I know how to raise my own child, or I know this, or I know that, or nobody can tell me this, or nobody can tell me that. And they just don't want to hear what other people have to say, even if it will be helpful to them, just because it didn't come from their own brain. But the more we're able to connect, such as through the internet, the less we are developing the real deep connections, rich connections that would edify. And so it's important that we honor each other, because this is it's all the more reason for us to honor each other. It's all the more reason that this is imperative, because there's enough tearing each other down. We're imploding, like as a group of people in general, whether you're talking about the Black group or the United States group or the world group. Either way, the world is imploding, because there's, everybody's, it's like crabs in a barrel. Nobody wants to see anybody advance beyond them. And so we're destroying ourselves from within. And it's kind of like the story in the Bible, Second Chronicles 20, um, the army, Allied army, they slaughtered themselves because of confusion, and it left enemies to plunder their village for 3 whole days, just gathering their stuff. And to me, that is so symbolic of what is going on in the world today, because it's just like if we don't begin honored, we will destruct, and somebody else will benefit from our downfall. Um, so I'm gonna pause right there. You all speak on that I shared with you all about how to honor a Black mother.
This is indeed helping me. I have, just got my journal sitting here, and I am it's making me more mindful of um just how to be there for others. Like, it even has me thinking back on some some opportunities that I had to be there, but because I didn't know what to do, it was that more so I did nothing. To me, I did nothing. They didn't
Mhm.
say anything, but it's like, no, I could have, those spaces in which I kind of felt like I could have did more. But there's nothing you can do about the things of the
Mhm.
past, but moving forward, these
Mhm.
are just moments that can, uh, nuggets that can now be applied. So
Mhm.
I like that you had mentioned like challenge the mom to take care of herself before she burns out.
Mhm.
I'm in a space where that is something that I have to actively share with that mother, and not by not saying
Mhm.
those things, but just like, hey, here's a face mask. Here,
Mhm.
here's like a
Mhm.
lotion, a new foot
Absolutely.
lotion or something for you to try after you go take your shower and bath. Like dropping the hints of
Yeah.
go and do before I have to, all right, lovingly actually tell you like directly to go and to do it, but to know. But this has been, kind of my way where it's like, hey, I see you, I'm here, you're not alone.
Mhm.
In so many ways, but like I don't consider myself a gift giver, good Lord. But but this again, it's just like I see
You are
that
indeed.
this is something that you need. So
Mhm.
here you
Mhm.
go. Take this, and I hope you enjoy.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
feeling guilty for investing in themselves, like
Mhm.
that is I have actively seen parents do that. Like where, you pick
Mhm.
up the thing in the cart that you want and thought was cute right away, but then you go to past the kids section and all of that goes out the
Mhm.
window and you don't put back
Yes.
your one item to get their four
Mhm.
things. And so it's like, why can't you have both? They can give them two and you still get your one.
Right.
if
Right.
if it's your
Exactly.
must. Again, I understand the disposition wholeheartedly more than people think that I do. Because I
Mhm.
don't have
Mhm.
mine yet, but I do. I see it, I understand it, and I'm just like, okay. But uh, again, these are steps. Like, hey, this is still invest, and here are some ways you can do that. So thank you.
Mhm. Mhm. And I love what you put in the chat when you said the physical connections are being missed, in-person presence, intimacy, and vocalized encouragement. Those are ways that you can support a mother, a Black mother, especially. And also, you were talking about eliminating the decision making for them. That is huge for me. And I'll tell you, like, I sometimes Jay will be asking me a question about this or that, or you want me to make a decision. But by the end of the day, my brain is like, nope. Analysis paralysis. I can't make a decision, even if it's simple, because my brain has been working all day nonstop. Even in my sleep, it does not stop. And so, if it's not a dire thing that I need to make a decision on, it helps me for you to just make the decision. And I'm cool with that. I am just fine with you making the decision and I trust you to make the decision. You know, um, a lot of times we don't want to surrender, that control, but in a lot of instances, when we trust a person, we trust their ability to make a decision that's not going to hurt us. And so that is a huge point, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. Taking the mental load off.
Yes. I mean, I'm really enjoying this conversation because I was thinking about the day that I decided not to be a strong woman because
Hmm.
I mean, we are known for being the strong woman. That
Hmm.
we can handle it, and that's just because we have. And
Yeah.
um, and so now I tell people, especially women, Black women, I say, just because you can, that doesn't mean you have to.
Hmm.
You can delegate. You can
Right.
accept something that someone has offered you. No matter how
Hmm.
small it is or how small you think it is, that's something less you have to do. So
Right.
I really hate that I didn't learn that early on when my kids was little
Hmm.
because I really could have. So Jay, I tell you, you are just in the best position because learn all this stuff now to keep, to put
Mhm.
yourself first because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And I can't tell you how many days I was just tired because I was just doing everything because I could.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean I
Yeah.
should have. I felt like I was pregnant and nursing for 3 or 4 years because my kids were so close to me.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and my body was not my own. My hair was falling out, so it's just,
Mhm. Current
but
situation.
yes, yes. So yeah, so I decided no longer to be the strong woman. I now, I'm still working on it, but I ask for help more than what I used to. And I'm willing to say that I'm not okay. Because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm good." No, I'm not good today. And a lot of times people be
Yeah.
like, "Huh?" Because they're not used to that people saying that that they're
Mhm.
not good.
Yeah.
But people are willing to help when you say,
Yeah.
that you're not good. What is it I can
Yeah.
do to help? And I let them help.
Yeah. And that's really important. Ask the mom how you can help. If she doesn't come up with anything, then you can come up with something that you can help with. But there are certain things that, like, for me, there are certain ways that I like things done. I don't really like other people doing my children's hair because there are certain products that I use in their hair. There are certain brushes, there are certain techniques. And so, like, if somebody offers to do my kids' hair, I'm probably not going to take them up on that. And it's not because I'm too good for somebody to help me in that way, but it's because I've trained their hair in a certain way and so on and so forth. And even though that would take a load off, that's not quite the load that I would like for you to take. And sometimes it can ensue a little bit more stress than actually being helpful. And I just give that as an example. Or, just, like a lot of people like to give my kids candy. I don't give my kids, sweets really except on the weekends. For us, weekends are like the days when we get to do all kinds of things. They get to watch TV on the weekends, they get to eat candy on the weekends. But for other people, you might be babysitting and you might turn on the TV and let the TV babysit them while you giving them all kind of sweet treats. And that's not the way that we do things. And I'm not saying that you got to be super choicey and picky in how your children are raised, because that could be a one-time event, and it may be an occasion where, say, my mother-in-law may come over and want to make a sweet treat with the kids, but that's not an everyday thing, and so I can accommodate that. But what I am saying is ask her how you can help her, and try to make sure that the help that you're offering isn't actually a hindrance. um so thank you for saying that part as well. But also taking off that superhero cape, like you said, um, something that I noticed not just in scripture, but even in the stories of these super people. Um, so we know that God rested. That's biblical. We still overlook it, you know, but um even when we talk about the superhero syndrome, is what I'm going to call it. Even when we talk about that, we have to recognize that even in the stories that we've been told about superheroes, they still have like their place of reprieve. They still go somewhere. They go home or they clock out of that superhero lifestyle for a minute. You know, Batman goes to his little bat cave, and Superman, he turns into Clark Kent. You know what I'm saying? There are times when they're not acting as a superhero. They may be on alert, they may be aware of what's going on, but they're not always flying around or whatever, trying to save the world. And so it's like, how did I miss that? All these years I've been trying to be a superhero, but even superheroes rest. Like, that is crazy work. And then, like I said, we already have the Bible as our main example. So it's interesting to me how we finite human beings think that we can just keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Even the Energizer Bunny needs his batteries replaced every now and then. And so, I just think it's very important that we acknowledge that sometimes we need rest. Sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need advice. Sometimes we need resources. Sometimes we need prayer. There's so many different ways that you could be a blessing to a Black mother. Um, and so tonight, as we head into the month of May with Mother's Day being on the second Sunday, I admonish you to find some way to encourage a Black mother, and not just on this holiday, but do so regularly. And don't allow the world to make you bitter, or to make you walk in the spirit of offense towards a Black mother, or Black mothers in general. Because the truth is that there are some Black mothers who can be toxic. There are some Black mothers who were abusive, or some Black mothers who, were strung out, or some Black mothers who abused the system, or some Black mothers who um, abused their children in some way, and those mothers exist. I'm not taking away from anybody's experience, but there are so many mothers who are doing things the best they can. So, and it's not limited to Black mothers. Anybody can make a mistake, but instead of focusing on what she isn't doing right, can we just take a moment to appreciate those of us who are just trying? You know, we may not always succeed, but we're trying, and that effort should be acknowledged. It should be recognized. It should be not diminished or demeaned because it doesn't look like somebody else's story. And so that is my message for tonight. I am not going to hold you, ladies, on the call for long. I will open the floor for any final comments, but I did just want to close out with saying that. Any final comments?
Well, I want to thank you for this discussion, Travae. I think it's needed to set aside times like this to have these types of conversations. I think we have to be intentional with everything that we do and purposeful. And so I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
you in this conversation, and it just helps me to even appreciate my own mother and other Black mothers that are around me
Mm-hmm.
even more. And I love the fact that
Mm-hmm.
we're doing this the month before Mother's Day. We can be a little bit more intentional about what we plan to do.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not really just about the gifts, and it's really just about acknowledging, hey, I see you and I appreciate you. And I saw J Love, you said you didn't have any final comments, but you shared a lot of great things just throughout the discussion. And so I think we had somebody trying to come in just as we were closing. I guess I will let them in and we can give a little summary right quick. Hold on a second. Pause for a commercial break. Hello, Chris.
Okay, I'm here. I don't know what I did to refresh my screen just now, but I'm back.
That's okay. We had somebody join the call as we were getting ready to wrap up.
Yeah, I know I'm all like an
So
hour
I
late.
wanted to. Yes, that's okay. Uh, would anybody like to summarize some of the things that I said? And if not, I can kind of hit some of the points.
Well, we've had a wonderful discussion on how to support Black mothers or in mothers in general. Some of those ways to honor mothers are by, praying for them, making sure that you're advocating for them and offering up practical help, whether that's, mental, physical help. making decisions lighter by, you know what, hey, I'll order dinner today, or sending, or I'm sorry, acknowledging their struggles and making sure that they are encouraged and being uplifted because of all of these decisions and such that they have to make, challenging them to take care of themselves, um, or letting them to know to not diminish their own efforts, right? Or we should diminish their efforts, but what they're doing when they are trying, because sometimes they're already hard on themselves. Um, I she shared with us to not sacrifice. Don't sacrifice your purpose for motherhood. We are more than mothers. And so we can still have lives outside of children. Um, um,
Mhm.
not to feel guilty for yourself or investing in yourself and some other things. She shared with us also birthing statistics, um, regarding motherhood and infant mortality. Um, let me see what else is here. So I'm walking away. I said I didn't have nothing to share, but I'm walking away with an activity that I'm now prepping in my head for her. Um, it's a fill my cup activity, and I'll submit that later. But yeah,
Awesome. Thank you for that summary. That was very inclusive of most of the things that I said and talked about. Tiffany, would you like to share anything to give Chris kind of an update?
No, I think Jay did a really good job of summarizing. Um, I think just the acknowledgement of Black mothers and who they are in our community. Um, it's also something that we should do. Oh, and the statistics that you shared in the beginning of this meeting was very eye opening. Even though the things as far as the mortality rate and how how we are treated even in the medical world or in the world as a whole. But just those percentages, it brings awareness to everything. But yeah, I think Jay did a great job.
I agree. I agree. So, Chris, those statistics. So the maternal mortality for Black women in the U.S. is over 3.5 times more likely for Black mothers than it is for white mothers. And Black infants are 2 times more likely to die than um, white children. And most of the times it's because of some type of medical negligence. And that's really just unacceptable. And that's why one of the things that I suggested was to advocate for these mothers. And then another statistic that I shared was single motherhood in the Black community is 47 to 64%, which again, it is disheartening, um, because we know that children really thrive generally in two-parent households where there is a healthy marriage. Uh, and so that was some of the things that I mentioned. Also, the state of the world, particularly the U.S., makes a Black mother pray differently. We have to pray against certain things that other races um, may not face in the same way. And like I said, that doesn't take away from white mothers or mothers of any other ethnicity, because motherhood is hard in general. Parenthood is hard in general. That's not taken away from fatherhood and the sacrifice that fathers make and the valuable contributions that they make. It's just acknowledging the efforts and the struggles that Black mothers have in general. Um, I'm trying to think of what else I may have said that Jackie did not cover or Tiffany did not cover. Um,
Well, I have a quick
I would
question.
also, yes, go ahead.
Is that rate for single motherhood trending up or is it staying flat?
So it's kind of trending down, but it doesn't seem that way. um, there are actually more Black women that are getting married and staying married. Um, there was a decline for a while, but it's slowly coming back on the uptick. Um, so that's a good thing, but it's very slow. And so it's hard to see, it's hard to recognize that progress at this time. Um, but Black marriages are occurring more and staying intact more than they had in maybe the previous decade or so.
That's good.
Hey,
Mm-hmm.
Travae, do you mind letting us know what source these statistics come from?
Girl, I have to go back and find it. I can post it later.
Okay.
But these are because I do a lot of counseling and a lot of research and a lot of stuff like this. These are numbers that kind of stuck with me, but I'll go back and find them and I'll post them under this video.
Thank you so much. You know, we always got to cover our bases.
Oh yes, absolutely. I get it. I get it. Um, let's see. What other things did we talk about? Mm, I really feel like we covered just about everything. I just would encourage the Black community in general, the United States in general, the world in general, not to self-sabotage by destroying each other. Um, the wise should go back to teaching those who are ignorant or unlearned, and in a way that is loving and kind and welcoming. um, and we need to have those real connections with each other, because if we don't fight with each other, we're going to fight against each other. And so yeah, that's I want to say that's pretty much a summary. I mean, we had further discussion, but just to give you a general gist without going through the whole discussion all over again, I think that's pretty much it. Did you have any questions about anything you heard?
No, no, not at all. I'll just go back and rewind.
Okay. All right. Well, I go ahead, Tiffany. I didn't hear you.
No, I was telling Chris, thank you for joining.
Yes, indeed. We appreciate it. We do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you for coming on and sharing your thoughts and asking questions and all the things. And I will be sure to pull my sources for you. I know I shared the scripture that I was talking about, but I didn't share the statistics. Um, but yes, so well, I shared one of the scriptures. I shared the scripture on when the army was fighting within itself. But and that was Second Chronicles 20, I believe. But yeah, so you all can go back and watch and catch up on that. But I will post those statistics up under the video. And I think that is all. If all hearts and minds are clear, like they say, we can close out. So I thank you all again for joining me on this call. I pray that you will start to see and appreciate Black motherhood in a new light, in a better light, for yourself if you are a mother, for your spouse if you are a partner, for your future self if you haven't become a mother yet. I just hope that this discussion has blessed you and has encouraged you to be loving and kind and gracious, and to be willing to teach or be willing to learn, be willing to help, be willing to advocate all the things that could make it better for the next generation and for the mothers who are currently mothering, whether your child is an adult or a young child, or whether, again, you haven't even begun to have your family yet. it's still important that we know how to appreciate and nurture those who so selflessly nurture others. And so, with that, I pray y'all be blessed. Have a great night. I love y'all.
Thank you, Travae. Love you too.
Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.